Welcome to In the Black. I'm your host, Sterling McKinley. Our podcast celebrates successful minority entrepreneurs here in the DMV area. We share their inspiring true stories, value insights, and tips on building a profitable business that stays in the black. Today I'm speaking with Obi Omile, co-founder and CEO of theCut app, which connects barbers with customers to modernize the barbershop experience. Obi, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on, Sterling? Thanks for having
Great,
me.
great, great. Thanks for being here so much. I was so excited when you agreed to be in the podcast. So let's get into it. My
Yeah,
first question for you is, what inspired you to start the Cut app?
great question. I would say personal need is the best, like, short form answer.
Okay.
Long form, I had moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to start a new job. And
Right.
while down there, like for the first 2 months, I hadn't had a haircut, which
Okay.
I'm sure you can imagine crazy long.
Right.
And it
Right.
wasn't the issue wasn't that, like, 'cause, I'm getting my haircut every 2 weeks, right? But like the
Right.
issue isn't that there weren't great barbers in Charlotte. It was just I
Okay.
had no good way to discover them as somebody who newly moved
Right.
to the city, right? And at the time, the best alternative was probably Google, where I would do where you could do a search, but you're only gonna find like barbershops and not individual barbers. And
Right.
so that was when like the idea really came to me is like, there's an opportunity here to build something that is more barber specific and that is truly meant to connect, me as somebody looking for a barber with the talented barbers in my city.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think we all been there as a black man. So your haircut means a lot. It's confidence. I
Absolutely.
remember when I started high school, ninth grade. Um, a week before high school started, I got a haircut. It wasn't the best, and it took me years to bounce back, get my street cred back.
To
So
get your swag back, I'm dead. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
it's very
right,
important having a haircut. Another thing that I like what you're doing is, I remember back in the day that you could go to the barber and you could sit there for 2 or 3 hours before you get a haircut. The barber will be done, and you walk up to the chair. And before you sit down, oh, I got somebody coming at 2 or 3. So,
right.
talk about that. Talk about how you are revolutionizing and disrupting the traditional barber industry and how things have been done in the past.
Absolutely. I think for us, what we want to what we try to do every day is how do we help a barber run their business more efficiently, right?
Right.
And for a lot of barbers, like scheduling, um, managing their customer relationships, like these are key parts of the business. And before they had to do a lot of that manually by hand. However,
Okay.
now with a platform like ours, we're able to help them automate a lot of those back office operations so that they can really
Right.
do what they love, which is like cutting hair, and we
Okay.
can manage the scheduling of booking. So like for the
Right.
barber, like and what you just described earlier, yeah, we've all
Mhm.
been there, right? We've all showed up to the shop, had to wait 2 or 3 hours to get that
Right,
haircut,
right,
right?
right,
But now what happens is you can see a barber's schedule beforehand. So you
right.
know as a customer when that barber is available, and
Mhm.
you can actually book in advance so that when you do show up, you know you're gonna be the next person in the chair. Also, you probably won't show up too early
Right.
because you know that this barber is gonna be booked up all day.
Right,
So it's really about making a better experience for both the barber and the customer, and that's how we've been able to, find so much success thus far.
right. Well, let me ask you this. So I know technology, things have changed now. We all have phones, we all used to using apps, but those old school customers, even barbers, how have you made that transition and help them overcome some of the barriers of entry? Because like you said, back in the day, we had word of the mouth, we had Google, but how are you helping people make that transition? And not only that, let me really get pointing here is that I love your app is for the consumer and the barber. But talk about more how it helps the barber build their business to stand out.
Absolutely. So there's a couple key features that we really offer that barbers love. The first is around the schedule management, right? So now as a barber, I can really customize how my schedule works. I can define my hours so you can see when to book me. I can also set premium hours that are like before hours or after hours. So
Right.
that way I have a lot more flexibility in like how much I want to charge in my services. I can also offer promotions in a way that I couldn't before. And this way, like if I want to offer a discount on haircut this week, I can set that up in the app. And that way you or any of my future customers can discover that and book me in advance. We
Right.
also offer analytics in a way that they haven't had so that they can gain insights into their business, into their
Okay.
customers, so that they can make better decisions as a barber. We offer digital payments That way that they can offer, again, a breadth of payment options to their customers.
Right.
So, more ways to pay means that you're going to get
Hmm.
paid more ways.
Right.
And those are like a bunch of a few things that we add. And then I'd probably say, like, beyond the
Hmm.
pure efficiencies of the business, like the big ad is, to your point earlier, around word of mouth is like how barbers typically grow, right? Or handing out
Right.
business cards by hand. When you think about having a marketplace that allows you to be discovered by tens, like hundreds of thousands of
Hmm.
people in a way that you weren't before, that's a huge value add. We constantly hear that well, empirically, we see that we help a
Hmm.
barber add on average 5 to 8 new clients a month.
Oh
And so
wow,
that's huge
that's
for
major.
barbers, like, when you think about growing your business. And
Right.
simply by just listing your profile on theCut, and you're getting that visibility that you wouldn't have gotten elsewhere.
Let me ask you this, is there an option on the app where, let's say, a barber can pay a fee to have their service promoted more heavily? Is that option?
Coming soon.
Come and say,
Coming
okay.
soon. Coming soon.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to stand out. So, going back to creating partnerships. Now, I've used a lot of apps and directories, and they have great functionality, but you go there and they have two companies there. So,
Mm,
how did you build up your barbers? Did you call them directly? Did you go to Google? How did you get barbers to sign up to be in your platform?
for sure. We did a couple different things. We've always, well, I'll say this, we've always looked through the lens of product-led growth, and
Right.
community-led growth, and content-led growth. So those are kind of the three pillars of which we kind of executed against. So again, product, content, and community. And what does that mean? It means on a product side, we make sure that our app was super easy to use and super
Okay.
powerful, though.
Right.
And in that, because barbers loved using our app,
Mhm.
there was such a pull that,
Okay.
not to say we didn't have to do too much, but barbers were seeking out our solution, right? This is
Right.
because, like, again, barbers felt the problem of double bookings. Like,
Hmm.
clients like you or I texting them at all hours of the night, calling their phone, trying to get understand
Right.
what their schedule looks like. And so
Mhm.
for a barber, you really wanted something to help separate your work-life balance and allow you to really live more peacefully. And so
Right.
we leaned into that by building a solution that worked for them. So that was one way in which we helped, like,
Okay.
drive growth in the early days. Another way we Another thing we did was focus really on content on social media. And we really
Okay.
built our brand through social. And social has
Right.
been how we've been able to compete because, obviously we know who our customer are. We are our customers, and we are able to resonate with, the content we put out. And that's helped
Okay.
build our awareness, like, across the nation. Right.
Right.
And then lastly, on the community front, we attend a lot of barber expos and
Okay.
just kind of have our barbers activating out in,
Right.
like, real places. We host and we support a lot of community events where they're like back to school
Okay.
campaigns or like just regular free haircuts for the community. Anything that, our barbers want to, like, get involved in. And we
Mhm.
obviously think we's a positive, like, influence in the community. So doing all those things have allowed us to continue to build brand awareness in a meaningful way
Right.
so that we've been able to grow the way we have today.
Okay. Awesome. On that same trend, I think about apps for booking hair. Now you have so many. You have StyleSeat, you have Booksy, all these platforms. So how do you stand out from the other platform? What tools and services make you different from other booking services?
I would say two things again.
Okay.
And, like, it's funny, the 2 you mentioned are great examples because they
Right.
target the mainly, like, female-dominated beauty side of the market,
Okay.
right? We think stylists, estheticians,
Right.
and the like, whereas we focus solely on barbers, right?
Oh,
And in
okay.
doing so,
Right.
we've been able to build a brand that barbers can identify with and
Okay.
galvanize behind, right? And then
Right.
second to that, on the consumer, we
Mhm.
built a brand that you know of and can trust for barber
Right.
discovery. You don't gotta worry about anything else. And so that's how we've been able to distinguish ourselves. Is we are really focusing in on barbers. And then, like I mentioned before, social media. None of our competitors really have like a
Okay.
strong social brand. And
Right.
those are the two ways that we've been able to really, carve out our own place at the table.
Right. Awesome. As a, let's say, a trailblazer and tech yourself, being a young minority entrepreneur, what made you passionate about tech? How did you get into tech?
A great question. Um, so I've always fancied myself like a problem solver since I was a
Okay.
kid.
Right.
I've always liked solving problems and, drawing connection between things, right? And I think the root of it, technology makes things faster or makes things easier, and it's
Hmm.
solving a lot of our core problems. And so, I think
Right.
as we as we gotten older and we exist within the time that we do, like technology is kind of the platform on which we all execute against, right? Um, First the internet was the big thing in the like 90s, 2000s, then mobile was the big wave, and now you see AI as the new technological frontier that we're going against. And
Right.
so I think it's about just using the tools that are available to
Hmm.
you to solve the problems that are most pressing. And that's kind of how like getting the tech
Right.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I love what you said about tech, being entrepreneur. I had a science teacher in sixth grade. Forgot his name, but he said one thing that's always stuck with me. He had a simple definition of what's technology, and his definition was technology is anything that makes lives better. So
Love it.
I love that. It's about problem solving, making life easier.
Mhm.
That's the power of technology. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about youth that are interested in becoming or getting into the tech field. How would you recommend they enter the field? Should they start by themselves? Should they get a certification? How can they make that jump? And how did you make that jump into the tech industry?
For sure. I think to your point, learning by yourself is a great way. I was able
Right,
to learn by myself, and I was able to get started learning by myself, and I was
right,
able to
right,
tap into other resources to like advance my learning. But the beauty of tech is that it's the great equalizer, right? It's one of those things where you can get started and learn, and it's so accessible to anyone that there almost are no excuses, right? And once you get started, you can go there and find experts to help you learn a lot more. But like, it's one of those places, it's one of those industries where you can learn something and create something, and like
right,
that in itself is like proof that you can succeed. And you just continue to work at it and build that portfolio, and that's how
right,
you can really break into tech in whatever capacity you're looking to. Well,
right.
so,
Yeah, I love you said that. I think tech, the internet, digital, all these things for the first time, we have the ability to just get started. The
yeah.
way I got started in digital marketing was literally going on to websites, looking at the view the code and seeing how
Mm,
things were coded
yeah,
and getting an
literally,
understanding. So you literally have
absolutely.
that ability now. I tell a story how I got started designing websites. Initially it was I got one of those how-to dummy books. I locked
Okay,
myself in my dorm room one break in college and built my first website. And that's how I got
love that.
started. So I think one of the things that we have to remember that you can get started now, especially with technology and apps and
Yeah,
cell phones and laptops, you have the power to get started.
yeah.
When we talk about equity and we talk about inclusion and the tech field, I think that's really important. So once again, let's talk to that young minority teenager, whether they're African American, Caribbean. What can they do to jumpstart their entry into tech?
I mean, there's a bunch of different things you could probably do, right?
Right.
YouTube is great. Yeah, I'm a student. I'm a YouTube university student.
Yes.
I just like I
Yes.
will learn almost anything off YouTube.
Right.
Same with TikTok, right? There's a lot of places that you can just
Mhm.
go and like search up information. I would say like the best way as a kid, like if you're talking about a kid, young guy, is like solve on like working, build like your own like small problems to serve, like you know
Right.
when I was a kid, I was really into like Beyblades and stuff like that, right? And I like, as you want to get started now, like, build a website to showcase some Beyblades, right?
Right.
Like you can just like do small things that kind of like you're interested in just to
Mhm.
kind of, build that rep. It's just like anything else, right? Whether it's going to the gym or it's like,
Right.
working on your jump shot, like you just need more
Mhm.
repetition. And so, yeah,
Right.
whatever like small step you got to do at
Mhm.
out the gate. And then you just make sure you get like 100,000, 10,000 shots up.
Right. Awesome. So, what was your first thing that you built or that you programmed? Do you remember what that was?
The very first thing I built was, like, to your point, I was making MySpace, like, designs and web pages back in, like, middle school, high school.
Right.
That was the first
Yeah.
everything I was, like, when I was playing around with code,
Yeah.
um, and so, like, that's, I think, partially why I think our generation
Yeah.
is so,
Mhm.
like, it doesn't seem too far off, is that we all were experimenting
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
day.
Right.
But yeah, that was like those are the first things I actually like. I played around with in
Yeah.
code, but like
Mhm.
the first real thing I built was probably this app basically, if you think about like Mint and some of these other like financial
Okay.
savings apps, like
Right.
basically with an app that you could put in like your salary or how much you made hourly, and it'll tell
Okay.
you how much you should save so that you can retire at X amount and stuff like that. So it was like
Right.
really basic, but it was just something that I wanted to build that I was interested in, but then also like taught me all the requisite skills that I could then
Right.
use on something that's you know a bigger business down the line.
Yeah, that was great. I'm showing my age here, but the first thing I built or coded was my Black Planet page. that
See, yeah. I mean, that's
that
not
got
too
me
much
started.
earlier than the
Yeah,
MySpace. That's not too
I
much earlier.
mean,
That's like maybe
yeah,
5
yeah,
years,
yeah.
maybe
Kind
5
of
or
around there. But yeah, I was in junior high school, and I did. I said, man, this thing is gonna be the future. So that really started my journey.
so,
Um,
um,
so once again, I want to thank you for your time today and your story. So I want to talk about the last thing. What are your long term goals? What is the future of the cutout? What are you planning to get into next?
absolutely. I mean, for the business, we really want to be the number one brand for all things barbershop. Like we want to build a global technology brand around barbershop culture. Like when
Right.
you think about Sephora,
Hmm.
and other brands that target kind of the beauty side, we want to build something specifically for men's grooming and barbershop culture.
Right.
But we also think that we can build a brand that like leverages, to your point earlier, like a lot of this offline barbershop experience and
Hmm.
bring it in a 21st century, right? So long-term goal, we want to build a global brand that's helping barbers build more meaningful businesses that allow them to, live the life they've always envisioned. And then on the consumer side, make it as good and make it as easy as possible to look good, feel good, and do good. So that's kind of how we
Right.
think about things.
Awesome. So tell our listeners how they can find you and how can they download the Cut app.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, the Cut's available on iOS and Android. Head to either of the app stores and you can search the Cut, one word, or you can head to our website, thecut.co. So that's thecut.co, or follow us on IG at the Cut app. But yeah, I mean, nationwide, I'm sure we have a barber in your city.
Right.
Check it out. If you're a barber, best way to run your business, check us out.
Awesome. Once again, Obi, I want to thank you for your time and hearing your story. And
Love it.
closing, remember, in today's competitive business landscape, you must embrace bold and innovative strategies in order to sustain profitability and stay in the black. We'll see you next week. Bye.